We have based our methodology on the OWASP testing framework. The Open Web Application Security Project, OWASP, is a volunteer project dedicated to sharing knowledge and developing open source software that promotes a better understanding of web application security. As we can see here, there are several steps which have to be taken to test for SQL injection, such as input validation, information gathering, 1 = 1 attacks, extracting data, OS interaction, command prompt, and expanding influence. The first step is to find a vulnerable entry in the web application. To find vulnerabilities, all parameters in a web form must be checked. SQL injection can happen in any of the following: fields in web forms, script parameters in query strings sent as part of the URL, values stored in cookies that are sent back to the web application, values sent in hidden fields. To find all the different entry points in a web application, a web proxy or a fuzzer must be used. With a fuzzer, we insert different types of input into each entry point. Fuzzing is an automated software testing technique that generates and submits random or sequential data to various entry points of an application in an attempt to uncover security vulnerabilities. We use this technique to send specific string combinations with SQL specific reserved characters and words. We are looking for an application error or changes in the application behavior or responses due to the insertion of one or several strings. For example, the delay query will make the application respond after 10 seconds if it is vulnerable and executing our command. In this case, it would also have to be a MS SQL server. Once a vulnerable entry has been detected, the next step is to gather as much information as possible about the underlying application. The information gathering stage is fundamental. The scope and depth of the subsequent attack as well as the query syntax to be used will both be determined by the results of this stage. Output mechanisms are essential for extracting information about and within the database. Depending upon the type of mechanism found, it will strongly change the attack techniques. Understanding the underlying query will allow to craft correct statements. By knowing this, different types of error messages and attacks are possible. Different databases allow and require different SQL syntax. Defining the database engine type is fundamental for the growing stages. Different databases allow and require different SQL syntax. Defining the database engine type is fundamental for the following stages. Most advanced SQL injection requires high user privilege levels. Knowing what we can or cannot do will save us time. Finally, interacting with the underlying operating system either through command execution or through read-write access to the file system will allow a whole different group of attacks. Extracting information through error messages is a very commonly used technique used by attackers nowadays. Some known methods for such processes are grouping error and type mismatch or overflow errors. Under grouping error, within a select statement, the having command allows to further define a query based on the grouped fields. The error message will tell us which columns have not been grouped. In type mismatch, by trying to insert strings into numeric fields or a big int into an int, the error message will show us the data that could not get converted.